just have a curiosity about each of your states' approach to participation in international research. We heard at the beginning of the day very clearly that Texas won't invest any state dollars. And I wondered if your states follow that same policy, or if they do invest dollars in international activities.
Well, I'll start out. By and large, there should be some core investment, which is personnel and operating dollars, very minimum. Major implementation activities have to be fully funded externally. They will invest like, we are the only state who's investing state dollars to fund a Women in International Development Program Director. It's state dollar funded position. Because I demanded that. Without this, I just cannot survive because we need that. And same is my salary and few other basic core investment. But bulk of the money has to come from donor sponsored program, not from state dollars.
Can I just say, I was just say, you know I'm from California, what's state funding? One of the things that's really critical for us is we have so many grower organizations like almonds and pistachio and pomegranates, rice, etc. We really have to always be aware of that in terms of our international activities and to what extent we're balancing how is this helping local industry as well as international.
I think the state is a kind of a initial investor in the process, but a long-term gainer. Working with New York State in institutions such as Cornell, initially there was a lot of resistance as to why putting our dollars in India or in other countries. But today you look at it, I think the net flow to Cornell is far more than initial investments. Today we get about 50 students at least, fully funded by the Indian government who come to Cornell, paying full tuition fee there. We're getting delegation of New York dairy farmers, dairy processors who go to India, build partnerships there. India is going to be the single most market for dairy, with close to 100% growth every year. And where are New York processors in that? Everybody is not going to be craft of the world to find their own feet in a country like India. So we are helping them do that. So I think you will find your state far more receptive when they see that opportunity. That you're in a way as a land grant, help them connect the rest of the world there.
Well, I have a question while all of you think of another question. Oh, I'm sorry, were you gonna, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, state of Alabama pays part of our salaries, but I think that's pretty much it.
So same story. My question to you folks is, the involvement of faculty, I think we all know in international activities is very important. We've heard it, that's your manpower, woman power to do the projects and to get the funding and so forth. But there are various ways to engage the faculty, and what, in your opinion, works the best in terms of getting faculty either who have never worked international or who have worked internationally very minimally because they have not necessarily engaged with the right people or made the right connections or felt like it wasn't really rewarded. What has been your experience? How do you entice that closer relationship between your offices and the faculty?
See, working at ED, where the Director General is like Pope, he says, you listen. The first thing I learned very quickly in university system, real power is faculty. You don't learn how to work with the faculty and learn them to attract them to your program. You're dead in the water. What kind of faculty? There are a lot of people who want a trip. I want to go to Senegal. Fit me in. Those are not the faculty you want. You give them opportunity to look. I heard from one of the speakers, I don't remember if it's Mike or Vijay that, no, you probably, is the paper versus, something service. I believe, and I proved it in my own life, you don't have to either or. You can do both. International engagement does not have to be second-class citizen. You don't have to scale down anything to get there. There is no international physics, international chemistry. It's all one thing. So when you say international agriculture, you're taking the laboratory to where the field is. But the quality has to be same. So you attract the faculty by telling them, if you are involved in this and you're successful in the bid, you help us to write the project, you will get assistantship, paid for full scholarship, you will have research dollars, and in return, we would like to see your output and impact will be same as the domestic program. No less than that, if not better. You give them the incentive, they'll work with you, and be sure they just don't use that as one more trip to going to Senegal or Timbuktu. They use that as a part of their avenue, horizon beyond College Station to the rest of the world.
I'd say one incentive would be if you can give that person opportunity of having a graduate student. We had a professor, Dr. Greg Mullins. I don't think he'd ever been overseas before, but I had a part of my project. He was an expert in phosphorus and potassium. We had a potential graduate student. We brought him down. He actually made subsequent trips to oversee the research, and then the person go back and be a student. That's a good way to incentivize it.
I think when you look at the faculty realizing, multiplication of this power of research, you're going to have hundreds of them following you. And that's what we see as the value. When I combine a faculty here with somebody in India, it's multiplying the power of his research and her research. And the work goes on 24 hours non-stop. And when we finish here, we take over in India. That's how it goes. I think when you realize that there's equal opportunity everywhere, and you can multiply your own research capacity with that kind of complementary capacity you partner with, you'll have hundreds of faculty following you. And also it's multiplication of research impact. The inventor gets more royalties from large markets that are emerging clearly. You're so used to licensing technologies 100 miles around the university. But here is a case, it goes across to the whole world there. So much more royalty income on account of inventor efficiency, more application for social benefits of such technologies. And that's what a faculty as a researcher would love to see that. So everything doesn't have to be donor dependent there. When that kind of framework comes, this is something where faculty engagement comes in many ways there. But today in our programs, we don't even cover 35–40% of engagement of faculty time with the donor dependence. So when you see the value for the faculty in co-creating these kind of opportunities, I think there's the excitement of the faculty to engage themselves.
Mark, any comments?
I said it all.
Okay.
I just want to make a comment.
Yes.
On an average, last 17 years, our program provided, on an average, 12 assistantship, fully paid assistantship or scholarship to College of Agriculture. And overhead is shared to the department. I would develop a formula that not everybody gets without getting engaged in the program itself. Say 52% the rich one takes, I don't even see that, where it's back home. The 48%, part of it, research division said, well, we are helping you in the sponsor program, you can give us 10%. All of this, and whatever is remaining, we keep it in the office, half of it, for the future investment. Other half, we equitably distribute among the participating departments. That's another big incentive for the college. And again, you saw the number of PhD and master theses. With graduate assistants, a big incentive. Then national ranking. College of Agriculture, Dean was there, I would say, College of Agriculture in Virginia Tech is ranked between 5th and 7th in the country. And that's purely National Science Foundation research dollars. Very substantial portion of that ranking is because of our international program. So there's an incentive from the college and the faculty to encourage to get involved.
Thank you. There was a question over there. Yes, Gary.
It's more of a curiosity, but I'd like to learn about your institutional perspective on how much you think that at the federal level that the awarding of grants or contracts is a politicized event. You know, red state, blue state, all that stuff. And then I've heard you talk about partnerships, and like to know whether or not, because you've spoken about partnership within faculty, within an institution, but how would a place like Mississippi State University rank in this, where that may be the one component that needs to partner with Virginia Tech or Cornell to make the best solution available? And how do you go about that, or do you even consider that?
I'm just as human as everybody else. When I lose, because I'm a bad loser. And I blame on, there must be some part. By and large, my philosophy, there's a fair process. We would have never won IPM CRIS project if it was not a fair process. Because we are taking on two giant consortia. Same thing with all the other big projects. And against everybody's wish, we won some very large project and very important projects. So by and large, I don't think it's politicized. Maybe a few places it could have been aberration here and there, but by and large, I think it's fairly fair process. And what is the second part of your question?
Whether you seek out partnerships
Yes.
on faculty from other universities to make the strongest
Absolutely.
case.
That's my ED training. Learn to work with the best. Don't have preconceived ideas. Well, I have a friend in X university, I only will work with them. I don't. Yesterday's friend is today's enemy, and my today's enemy is yesterday's friend. So I work with anybody. Wherever I can take the best. In fact, I will give you an example, UC Davis. After we beat them in IPM CRIS, they were the part of the big consortia led by Texas A&M. I went to Frank Zalom and I said, I would like UC Davis to join our consortium. He fell off from the chair. You just beat us, and you came to us too. Of course, you have some special expertise we IPM CRIS doesn't have. So I have learned, working with the CG Center, that you have to work with the best of the best. If it's Mississippi, which has the best seed technology program, and the program has a seed component, you better go to Mississippi. Then another thing that it is very close to my heart, 18, 19 institutions. You know, don't go and say that you will try to fit them in. You recruit them, but they are very proud institutions. They don't have all the expertise, but you give them a niche and build them in your program. You will have a lot more mileage than you think, both from the donor perspective as well as program implementation. So best of the best, and you mix them up.
Can I just say, yeah, I mean, Davis, we do the same. We're trying to engage a range of partners. But I want to put a reality factor on that, in that you don't know everyone. And you don't always know who the best is. You're working within your network or your colleagues' network. So, you know, you're trying to get that.
That's the advantage of being old. We
have one more question over here. Yes, sir?
Thank you. 3 of the panel members have been in CG system, and if we look at, we're talking about Feed the Future, but if we look at Feeding the Past, the Green Revolution that came, it was total American involvement and commitment, right from international agriculture to CG system to Rockefeller Ford Foundation. And when I joined IIT, there were about 25% American scientists in IIT, and in the CG system were about 20-25%. Now if you look at, maybe not even 1% or 2%. So overall American scientists' involvement in the international affairs has gone down. And when we talk of Feed the Future, if we feed it from background, it is not going to work. A few arrangements that we are talking will work only when real American scientists go and participate in this. So how can we bring that element again? Is something that we should be discussing. Working from background or proxy, I don't think that will bring us the solution. And US still has to contribute a lot in future feeding of the, particularly Africa and part of Asia. Thank you.
I'll start out because I served the CG system longest, 27 years. That's a very long time. You see, money US used to give to CG system were more than 25%. now it's down to 15 or less. And one of the things that US funding agency does, the other funding agencies don't do that, which is we give unrestricted money. Whereas if British or French or German will give the money, they will tie it to a project, to their national interest, and they'll pack it with their own people. When the US will give the money, that's your free money, do whatever you want, as long as you do that. How, it's a broader question you say, why US scientists are not going to CG system. You see, in my own career, what does the spouse do in CG system? They get bored, play cards. How long you can play card after getting PhD or medical doctor who is a spouse? There is no spousal program to attract American scientists working in CG system. They just cannot. Ed, you know that. Your wife played tennis, my wife played bridge and tennis. And they're professional. So it's not very attractive working in Philippines or Mexico. It's not very attractive for the American thinking. There is no opportunity for this spousal. That's one of the many reasons. Plus, we don't have a program. The American donors are much more benevolent than other donors. We don't pack in that you could hire with my money, with my people. We don't do that. We are a little about that.
You know, I believe the US has changed the way of engaging with global development in the last 20, 30 years. In 50s and 60s, you were the doers. You used to come to countries like India, and you were there physically, right? You brought the systems with you, you brought the people with you, you brought the technologies with you. I think you've now changed your role to a sheer catalyzer, clearly. And I feel a big value in that catalyzing process, because then you're multiplying your power several fold, right? So I think by learning to walk shoulder to shoulder with other countries, I think you're really truly impersonating yourself, multiplying the power of your systems and processes and the people knowledge. So in-country those countries which are really development oriented, which are emerging, can take the process and then engage their own people with the kind of catalyst role that's being played by the American system here. I think to me that's the greatest contribution than you doing yourself. You can't do it anymore in the whole world today. You know, you have limitation of the people, the resources. But I think if you can help other countries walk shoulder to shoulder with you, you're building capacity in them. And that's a big contribution I see today.
Just very briefly, I think it's related to Vijay's comment that when the CG first started, where was your source of PhDs globally? And I think it's an indication of some of the success in the international development that there are a lot more PhDs out there from other countries. And I think it's actually a success globally.
Good point. Another question, yes.
Yeah, do you have any orientation programs on international engagement for your faculty and technical staff in your institutions? And give me some of the examples of the success of those programs, if you have.
Well, you know, one is self-generating. Most of our faculty who get engaged in international programs are Peace Corps returnees. Very important. But those who do not know, plus with due respect to Dean Hussey, all the deans and associate, if you're a young assistant professor, you better not get involved in international program because you are sort of challenging yourself to get promotion and tenure. I don't believe that. If you are doing quality work as an assistant professor internationally, you are just as qualified and just as fast can get the promotion and tenure. He is the quality control. So that's one aspect we need to pay attention to. And with time, a lot of changes have taken place in the university's attitude. And we have a faculty development program. On an average, 12 faculty are chosen from each college, 1 or 2. The college has to fund it. Centrally, we will fund some seed money towards the total cost. these are the faculty who have not been engaged in international or sitting on the fence. They would like to do it, but they don't know how. So they will be taken to a country, maybe centered in Europe or in Chile. They'll be there for immersion for 3 weeks. Each one will have a project and site trip to that region. And they come back with a program associated with the national system, and then come back and follow through. So they get a taste of what it takes to get engaged in globally. And with that support, I think there are more faculty coming forward.
Dennis, I'm sorry.
Let's just say at Davis, and I want to say, I'm not aware of any program that orientates faculty to go overseas.
Another question? Yes?
Do you have any examples of using US and another developing or almost in the verge of developed country, using those two countries and helping the other very poor country?
USAID is strongly encouraging, I think that's your Vijay's thesis, strongly encouraging that. For example, Feed the Future, India is not allowed or is not entitled to get any funding on Feed the Future funding. They get other USAID funding. But they are used as a regional hub for training Nepali and Bangladeshi and so on. And IPM Chris, we have using that. Plus, now United States government is saying through USAID, a lot of African development projects. India will be providing the manpower or womanpower. Some of the money will come from the Indian government. Most of the money will come from US government. It's much more cost efficient, and they are from the developing region. They also understand the issue. So yes, this model is now US government is very much advanced.
Yeah, the way I see as a successful model there is when you look at your partner country as a great destination for translational research work, you're talking about very, very high differential levels of attitude. When you're talking about US engagement in some of the countries in sub-Saharan Africa. You'd have a mezzanine level translational engagement of a partner country who is on the verge of becoming a middle income country. And that kind of a translational support is very invaluable for a country that's in sub-Saharan Africa there. So you take technologies through a collaborative engagement, get them to affordable solutions and take them to a third country, but engage intensively with a third country partner in the process there. So it's also true of education. But when I bring a student from Africa down to a university like Cornell, they're lost many times. But when I take them for the first year to a university in India, where there's an international learning atmosphere, they really prepare themselves to come to Cornell and then take the subsequent 2 years there. So it's in many ways preparing the student to a higher altitude, but in the process, take them to mezzanine level, provide them exposure, and take them beyond. I think those kind of models work very well.
Who is the second largest donor in Afghanistan? Anybody?
Sorry, no.
You and I talked yesterday. India is committed $2 billion. Next to United States, that's the second country, not any other European country and so on. So you see, India is one of the poorest countries in the world. Here they have committed $2 billion for development of Afghanistan. And they are going to do that in full collaboration with the United States government. So this is a new paradigm. Because you might be poor, but at least you share what you have with other regions so that as a region you are much more stable.